If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bytes podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bytes. I'm Ben, and this is Syya. And this week we want to talk about, can politics affect your brand? The answer is yes. Of course it does. The question is, do we allow it? Do we allow ourselves and our brands, whether they be our personal brands, whether they be our corporate brands, whether they be, the brand of an organization that we volunteer for, do we allow them to get mired up in politics? Because where you have politics, where you have two people, you have three opinions. And right now, as it's been for a long time, those politics and those opinions can be extremely divided. And we need to decide as people, as companies, as organizations, do we want to get caught in the minutia? Do we want to be mired down in things that may or may not be in our best interest? Or do we rise above them? And do we find a way to enable the people within our organizations to still believe what they believe, to still have passion and still, enabling them to be the humans and humane individuals that they are, but create an environment that is politics neutral at best and enable us to be able to allow for various different opinions without being labeled, without being finger pointed, without putting our foot in something that, may just not smell the best thing. So, Syya, let's gnaw on this. Here she goes with the sound effects.
I had to do that one because look, when you say the P word, right? The R word and the P word are the two words I typically avoid like the plague.
What, not recession?
So yes. Yes. No, but okay. So I know you had asked me this earlier, and we were discussing like topic wise, what do we want to talk about? And I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about it, and let's talk about it in earnestness of, is politics, even the R word, is it really relevant for businesses in general? I don't know. That's a great question. And I think this is going to be one of those like hot topics, because I see people posting political stuff on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah.
And is that not personal brand? The same thing, like very similar to a, corporate brand. Obviously there's different nuances clearly, but the truth of the matter is do you want to die on that vine? Is this the stake claim that you're going to put down that you could potentially alienate in this highly polarized political climate that we're in, that you're willing to forego 50% of the population demographic, total addressable market, because of your personal beliefs, and thus extrapolating into, let's say you're a CEO of a company. Like, I could argue, okay, I'm the founder of Brilliant Bee Media, right? You are the founder of I Am Ben Baker.
Absolutely.
Do you want to have your personal opinions affect your potential business income and earning? I don't know. I mean, I think this is a very interesting topic, because I do value free speech.
Absolutely.
I do value the ability for everyone to have their opinion, though asinine as many of them are. Everyone's entitled to their stupidity. That's kind of my philosophy in life, right? And I believe in my stupidity equally. So let me just clarify, everyone's equally stupid in so many different ways, right? So should a business wrap up their mission value statement within a political statement, I think it can be done well if it's done right, or vice versa. It can be done right if it's done well. Either way,
yeah, go ahead.
I think I think I want to take the side that a business has every right to decide how they want to represent themselves in the public place, because it's their own private organization, if you will. Should they do it? That to me is purely subjective. So that was a very long, convoluted answer to why I feel this is going to be for so many in the comments. So
absolutely. I mean, here's my take on this. We have two different issues. One, do we as political beings who work for an organization or who are an organization, who own an organization, do we allow our personal politics to usurp the brand itself? And there's the other piece of the pie is, do we become unduly influenced by the politics of the people that are supporting our brands? Because I'm sitting there going, and I'm hearing people all over the time saying, well, they should be talking about this, and they should be on this side of this, and they should be on that side of this, and why are they not supporting this, and why are they not supporting that? Because, no offense, if we as brands, as corporate brands, supported every political cause under the sun, we'd tear ourselves apart. We'd absolutely tear ourselves apart. But people feel, oh my God, I have to say something about it. Whether it's, Roe or Black Lives Matter or right versus left or left versus wrong or any of these politics, everybody wants you as an organization to have an opinion. And the question you need to say as a brand is, who are we? Who are we as a brand? I am Ben Baker. I have made the political choice, and my degree is in political science, ladies and gentlemen. This is what my degree is in. My degree is in international relations. I have a degree and a bent on Middle Eastern terrorism. Do I have opinions about all this stuff? Yes, I do. But you're never going to hear them in public. And that's my political choice. And that's my personal choice as a brand, to sit there and say, you know what? If you want to come up and have a one-on-one conversation with me where nobody's recording anything and we're just having a discussion, and you disagree with me and you want to have a conversation, and we can talk about it civilly and say, hey, listen, you think this, I think this, great. Let's come up to something in the middle, or let's agree to a disagree. I have no problem with that. But I don't believe that my opinions as a brand need to be out there in public about which way I go on any particular issue, because it doesn't either benefit, and it may detract from the value of my brand as an organization. Because you're right, as you said, some people will agree with you, some people won't. And both people have absolutely their right to think whatever they want. But, when it comes to religion, when it comes to politics, when it comes to a lot of things, talking about it from a brand point of view is putting yourself in a position that you can't walk back from. So in 5 years from now, when the climate changes and maybe your opinion changes and the mood changes, and all of a sudden you start saying, well, I now believe in this, people all of a sudden are going to go back to your social media feed. They're going to go back to your website. They're going to go back to whatever they can get their hands on and say, hey, wait a second. 5 years ago, you said something completely different. Mm-hmm. And now, how do they trust your brand? If you're flip-flopping, if you're riding the tide, if you're, being at the whim of whatever your audience believes, that's a dangerous place to be. If you truly believe, hey, this is who I am, this is what my brand believes in, and I want to take a stance on this because I think it's right, and I think because of who we are as a company, it's our role to stand up and be a voice of this. Power to you. But once you've drawn that line in the sand, that's the line you have to walk.
Okay, so let's think about this, because because it seems to me a no-brainer. It feels like a no-brainer not to talk politics. It feels like a no-brainer as a corporate entity, because you are representative of 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 humans,
Or
all said and
millions.
done. I find
Yeah.
it very interesting that that there are companies that will take a stance on things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I said, I think it goes back to, if this company has its core mission values that does align with a political statement, viewpoint, etc., that just, it's a reflection of it. So, let's go with, I don't know, Nike against child labor. Although
Sure.
I think they got accused of child labor. But anyway, but what I'm trying to say is, if it's something where there's a particular politician that's like, oh yeah, I want to increase child labor, I can see where they're like, no, this is part of our mission. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to use the word Nike, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, I could see where it makes sense. Or if it's founded on a principle, like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I get that. I think, but I do think I did find it odd at times. Like, let's say you are a computer company, right? Manufacturer. And then you decide you want to make a statement on running shoes and child
or or
labor. Right. Now, to me, I think,
or
okay,
right to choose, or right to life, or whatever. Yeah,
I mean, why anyone want to go on that, something that he, I mean, let's screw that. Let's ask this question. Why do you
mm-hmm.
think a company would want to take a stance? Let's flip it and say, okay.
I think that there are reasons for it, and the reason is because it's part of your moral, identity, and you as an individual, as a leader of a company, as a brand, say, listen, this is the hill we're willing to die on. This is something that we truly and absolutely believe in. This is something that, company is owned by somebody who's trans, and all of a sudden, things are going out in the media right now, and they make a firm and absolute stance on trans, one way or the other. You know what? They realize by doing this that what they're going to do is they're going to align themselves with a certain market, and then there's going to be a certain market of people that are going to walk away from them, and they're okay with that.
And they know it, and I think
they've made a calculated choice to say, you know what, this is too important not to say something. So we're going to say something because, you know what, there's a reason for us to say something. We as a brand have proven ourselves over the years that we are part of this. This is who we are. This is part of our identity. This is part of our DNA. And for us not to say something is going against our brand and our mission, our vision, and our values.
You could argue, if you don't like something, then don't buy it and move along. And that's a decision the company has made. I find it fascinating that people that get very upset at a company that will take a stance. Okay, Chick-fil-A, they're never open on Sunday because they are religious. In-N-Out, they have John 3:16 on every single one of their cups at the bottom, right? Am I Christian? Not necessarily. Am I offended? Not necessarily. I go elsewhere if I want to. Could I possibly not enjoy a delicious shake from In-N-Out? Sure. But if I decide to purchase from there and my mouth is watering right now, would I deny myself the joy of a wonderful In-N-Out milkshake? No, because it's not if this is their core value of that company, that's fine. I mean, it ain't going to affect me, right? Like, whatever. So,
but there are some people that will walk away from them. And
I get it.
A good brand, but here's the thing, and I'm going to say this because we need to land this plane sooner or later, is that a brand's objective is to repel as many people as they attract. If you are for everybody, then you're for nobody. If you can't differentiate yourself, if you can't show yourself that, hey, wait a second here, this is who we are, this is what we do, and if you're not okay with that, I'm sorry, I love you, but go away. Southwest Airlines, perfect example. After 9/11, gets a handwritten note. The CEO of Southwest Airlines gets a handwritten note from one of their most frequent flyer clients and says, you know what, I'm very uncomfortable flying Southwest Airlines after 9/11. I think your in on-plane teams are not taking the security seriously enough. They're not taking safety seriously enough. They're still doing their regular shtick. It says, I can't fly with you anymore with no good conscience. If you don't stop this, I'm going to have to give my business to somebody else. A handwritten note went back to her. We will miss you.
Yeah.
Because that's who they were as a brand.
Yeah.
That's who Southwest Airlines is as a brand. And we need to say as brands, you know what? Sometimes sticking to our own values is more important than losing a client. And I think that we need to be able to say, I'm sorry that you feel that way. We're sorry to see you go. Thank you for your business. And then go find the people that are part of your tribe. Because you know what? As I said, if we don't stand for something, we stand for nothing. And therefore, we're just another commodity out there that is easily replaced and soon forgotten.
Yes, I'm right there with you. And you just got me thinking on another thing. So let's end this because I think we need to talk about this. And it's not so much about politics. This is more about brand decisioning on going a certain direction that you know it's going to turn off. So, for example, I have to leave it with this for everyone that's thinking. So with what you just said earlier, there are retail stores that will that are like in Asia it's very common, but in the Western side of things where they cater to a certain demographic.
Absolutely.
And they are absolutely unapologetic.
Mm-hmm.
You don't fit the designs. You don't fit the demographic. We don't want you, Abercrombie & Fitch. So
you're not going to see me in a Forever 21.
Well, I should hope not, because it's mostly all women's clothes, I think. But anyway, and it's really crappy clothes. Anyway, but they are good for a Vegas trip. Okay, anyway. No, I do think, though, there's something to be said about calling out businesses that are just flat out. Actually, no, screw it. They're just unlikable. That's it. I answered my own question. Abercrombie & Fitch, perfect example. I don't mind throwing out their names. I never bought any of their stuff. I am not their demographic, nor do I care to be part of their demographic. I think that's the critical part. If we're not part of the demographic, do we really care? Who cares? Like, fine, I'll find someone else that's I can like better bond with, right? So yeah. I think sometimes we need to let go if we aren't the ideal whatever of whatever. And unless it's straight up like
but
racist or whatever.
Brands need to stick to their guns.
Yeah,
brands need to say, this is who we are. This is who we support. This is who we cater to. This is our tribe. Either you're in or you're out. And if we start sitting there going, well, we may offend somebody. You're always going to offend somebody.
Yeah, but I think when you're outwardly trying to offend, it's like, okay, now you're just but that's your brand.
That's a different story altogether.
Well,
so anyway, let's leave it there. I'm Ben.
I'm Syya.
And we'll see you soon.
Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Not On This, Business Bytes. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. If you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at IamBenBaker.com or me at BrilliantBeMedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. See you next week for another episode of Not On This, Business Bytes.